Ah, there we go. I changed some audio settings and so we got all screwed over. Yeah. Okay. So, as I was saying, we moved up big overnight in treasuries because I believe at least it's because some of the details about why the trade deal fell through have come through. Um, and it really looks like the Chinese were trying to get away with something. And I'm starting to think, I haven't seen a whole lot about this trade deal falling through on Reddit or really anywhere other than CNBC. And I think that maybe this time around there is a little bit of political unity on the Americans' side. I think that everybody kind of realizes now that the Chinese are trying to screw us over and pull a fast one. So the end result, though, is that the tariffs on Friday are almost certainly happening. And I believe that that is why Treasuries finally broke. Here in the, you can see we're having a little bit of mean reversion here. I think that we could maybe get down to 124 here, at which point we might want to look for a 50% retracement trade. That's kind of my plan. I think we do have some news here. Hold on. Bum, 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 bum. Ah, yes, that's right. We have the bond auction today. That's what's going on. So today we have the bond auction. So that might lead to some interesting action as well. I think I'm gonna have a hard time trading this today, but I think that there could be some real opportunity too. So we're going to go for it. Bum, 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 bum. Mm-hmm. 99 was previous value. Those are all different things. Okay, so anyways, let's switch the screen over. Man, I feel really dumb that it took me that long to realize the microphone was muted. Oh, yeah. I installed all my audio software last night, though, so I guess it kind of messed with the settings. Bum, 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 bum. Good morning. Okay, that's all good. Okay, so I think the first thing that I've got to do here is go to Jigsaw and see if they handled our support request. Can we see the mess today? Download and install the new patch for 15 before opening Jigsaw. Delete the file. Okay. So they have responded to it. Maintenance patch. No, wait. No, that one is that is the version that I'm using. Okay, well, let's just do what he says for the hell of it. Hmm? So I'm gonna move you guys over to the charts here for a bit so that you don't have to see all this messiness. Mm-mm-mm. I said it was on. I was on 2015, but maybe there's like a 2015. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, see, it's downloading a second version of the file in the downloads, so I'm certain that it's not the version. Run. Okay. And now I'm supposed to come in here. View documents, jigsaw, database, deleted. No. Wait, did I do that right? Just double check here. Deleted. Okay. Now we're going to start it back up. Okay. Good morning, Uzi and Lucas. Well, I guess I already said hi to Uzi, but good morning, Lucas. I'm sorry, Uzi. I can only say hi to you once. Only one time. You only get one hello a day. That's it. I'm sorry. Download instruments. CME. Download. Requesting symbols. 908-1314. Hey. That was different. That was different. Close that. Okay. Oh. I like it. Sweet. Sweet. Okay, so I think we should make some changes here, yeah? I think here we don't need the order column. I guess we don't even really need the alert column. Right? Yeah. So we'll keep it like, we'll get it like that. And we're gonna switch these two, I think. Put this one over here, this one over here. This one does need the order column and the alert column. So put the order column there. That's which one is which? Okay. Bum bum bum. There we go. I'm going to try and make this as compact as possible, since they're only doing single digits. I think I can really compact this. Okay. Oh yeah, we don't really need this column to be that big. There you go. Okay. And this column can be okay. And the real E-mini like that. Okay. Are you able to lead MES now? Yes, yes. Well, it looks like the algorithms are fully on there. They are pretty much tick for tick. Like everybody was saying. It's actually leading the equity, it's actually leading ES a little bit. That's funny. Well. Well. I think the Treasuries want to revert a little bit more, though. Well, I may just wait. I don't know if right now is the best time for trade in the equity indexes. they might, I don't know. Just look at this chart. You can see we're kind of where they dipped down last time. So it's a possible short here, but I'm wondering if maybe they're going to want to go up a little bit higher first. Hi, Wrong. How's it going? Either way, let's just watch it a little bit so we can get a feel for it first, huh? Okay. So now this other stuff over here. I mean, the Bitcoin. Oh wait, I don't have it over here. Main. Okay. So now there's the mess. Um. Probably some of these treasuries could be consolidated, could be thinned down a little bit. Do we still have a 10K on this? Okay, 32, that's right. 26, okay. I think that those numbers, those spaces that I have on here are actually probably about what we need. Yeah. You gotta be able to read that. You don't want the numbers to get like jumbled together. We could bring the font size down a little bit. That's one option that we have. But let's minimize that. I'm looking over here at it, at the screen that we got. This is going to go away, right? We don't need that anymore. But really, this is the thing that I'm concerned about. This is the thing that, like, I feel like we need to make space for. I don't know. Oh, by the way, let's come in here. Okay, so it says it's unserious. If I come in here, I think it is. Aha. See, we don't want that error window to show up over there. There we go. All right. I'm green on NQ, swing of last night, 400 for now. Do I need to close or let it go? If you're trying to swing it, well, listen, I can't make that call for you, but if it was me, right? Don't trade NQ wrong. Wouldn't know. Oh, Lucas is saying that. Yeah. I thought he was saying don't trade NQ the wrong way, and I'm like, well, of course you don't trade it the wrong way. That's silly. But if you're swinging it, I think that these indexes probably have quite a bit more to go. From an E-mini perspective, if we come over here back to the charts and I make it all big, and we come over to the big chart, okay, look at where we're at right now in ES, and consider that, let's see here, the trade war, the whole trade war thing kind of started in February of 2018, didn't it? Look at this right here. Look at this move, okay? That is the sort of thing that we're possibly looking at here. It might not be as bad this time around. I think that people might be a little bit more measured. But yeah, I think that there's probably plenty of reason to keep them open. Look at that. The E-mini is selling a little bit. The E-mini is selling a bit. I really want to show this, but I don't know where to do it. I suppose we could do something like this. Make it go across the top, you know? I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I like that, guys. Hmm. So much information, not enough space to show it. Technically, I could do this. I don't need to see those. But I feel like when I'm watching the videos, it's a lot easier for me to figure out where it is in the video if I have this window. Um, Man, I don't know. I don't know. Ugh. I actually consolidated these so much I still have room over here, which is kind of funny. You know what? We could make this big again. Let's do that. Like, why the heck not? Treasuries are moving up because the 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 instruments are pointed down. Oh, okay. So you know what? Before we try anything on the mess, we also need to make sure that we have a viable um, strategy set up here for it. Yeah. So we're gonna call it the mess. Okay. And we're gonna have one here, and we're gonna have its stop be 16 ticks up with a stop trail of 8, right? I forget what these things mean. Let's look it up. Strategy manager. Number of ticks offset for stop limit order. So do I want it to be 8? And the stop volume for this thing should be like 50. The target I want to be 16. Yeah. So if I come over here, I'd have it on sim. If I sell it. Okay. So that should have just hit it. Well, the simulator is being silly. Oh, crap. Wrong. Wrong. Didn't have my strategy set. Flat. Okay. Sell. Okay. So there's a stop. 8 ticks down. And as it moved, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it moved down. Okay. I don't know if those are the numbers that I really want it to be, though. Let's rearrange this here. Make sure we got our Twitter feeds up correctly and everything. Okay. Oh, we should go tell people in the Jigsaw chat room that I was able to fix it too. Oh, I love it. I've made $1. Look at that. Made $1. Eh? Lost $1. Okay, let's get this set up right. This doesn't look right. Bum, 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 bum. North Korea says recent rocket drill was routine in self-defense. Sure. I'll tell you what, Treasuries really moved up there way too easily. You know, I don't think that I want it to be a what happens if you change the offset to be 16? Okay. Flat. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what that offset actually does. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So the first thing I'm noticing is that it didn't close my position. So close outstanding orders when position is closed. Okay. What if this is 16? So I'm noticing there's a lot of it's pulling and nothing actually trades there. Man, this is really going up in treasuries a little faster than I expected for sure. Okay. So now it did it. Let's see if we can get a few ticks our way. Pretty please. These are my least favorite trading conditions. Excess pulling and zero prints at prices drove me nuts in the euro. Yeah. Okay, so we got 2 ticks and the stop didn't move, which is what we wanted. I don't want it to move until we're getting like to our until we've got 8 ticks. Yeah. That might mean maybe I need the offset to be 8. I don't know. I don't know how this works. Okay. Well, that's nice. Didn't quite get to the $10 yet. Okay, so there is a divergence between these. Is there not? Oh, no. I got it. It's all right. I didn't know what I was seeing there. They didn't reset at the same time. You can get real complex with heading strategies between ES and MES. Perhaps. You gotta give me more than 10, guys. That's not gonna work. It looks like the treasuries are gonna come back down. You know what? Let's. Okay. Gives me a little bit more. This does need to be a little bit bigger. There's 16 on the offer there. Okay. I mean, I can just have it like that, I suppose. I don't know. I don't know if I like that. In fact, I'm pretty sure that I don't like that. It's moving. Okay, so now that we've gotten 8 ticks, so we got what? 1, 2, 3. And it's moved down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, sirree. Donald Trump tweeting, guess what? That's not going to happen in China. Oh, he had 2 tweets. Sorry, let me read the first one. The reason for China pullback and attempted renegotiation of the trade deal is the sincere hope that they will be able to renegotiate with Joe Biden or one of the very weak Democrats and thereby continue to rip off the United States $500 billion a year for years to come. Guess what? That's not going to happen. China has just informed us that they, Vice Premier, are now coming to the U.S. to make a deal. We'll see, but I am very happy with over $100 billion a year in tariffs filling U.S. coffers. Great for the U.S., not good for China. Did I get filled there? No, I got stopped. Well, this is crazy. They're reading that tweet as bullish. This is I got to tell you what, folks, I have never seen anything like this. Not even close. This is wild. And at it's 8:49 Eastern time, so before the equity markets are even open. Woo. Yeah, and that's funny that Uzi was saying, "Oof, this is moving shit." I mean, it's probably not moving the way that we would like it to, is it? For scalping, I mean, some people probably lost money there, right? Wrong. How many ticks or points is your profit? I don't know who he was. If you're talking to Uzi or me, but mine was, I was using 8 and 16. I'm a little confused on it, to be honest, about why the market is reading this as bullish. Trump on China trade says, I am very happy with over $100 billion a year in tariffs filling U.S. coffers. How is that bullish? The algos got it wrong, folks. Let me tell you what, the algos, they got it wrong. I don't want to trade something this crazy, though. Not for my first trade in the mess. And look at Treasuries go down. This is quite fortuitous for us. Okay. I think I should make another one that is just messy. That is just 8 and 16. Like that. Let's just try it real quick. Okay. The treasuries are already reverting quickly. I really want this 50% area, but they went through it. This is wild. This is wild. He's still holding NQ. Wrong says yes. Well, it's come back on us quite a bit, hasn't it? Oh, it stopped out, didn't it? Yes, it did. Okay. But we can start looking at it seriously, though, right? Missed my chance. I'm just going to be patient here. Yes. Something else coming through? Not permission. Oh, lame. Oh. 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 Wait. I guess I still got some things to work out here. CBOT as well. I never thought I'd see the day that geopolitics would become the equivalent of a flame war on some backwater forum on the internet. I think he missed the note issued by Treasury just after explaining the tariffs going ahead on Friday. U.S. issues notes on increasing tariffs on 200 billion of China goods. U.S. notice says tariffs on 200 billion of China goods go up on Friday. Will establish process for individuals to seek exclusions for certain products from additional tariffs. The market's reaction to Donald Trump's tweet is nonsense. like straight up nonsense. Okay, close. I'm gonna switch all these. Z B. Okay. So now, if I come back over here to this, I set it to the account and I put an order in. It's fine. Okay. But if I put one in, the mess, it rejects it. Not permissioned. Curious. This just being me guy does not understand what's going on here. Okay. Okay, so there was a bit of a short there now. Too bad I can't take it. Well, okay, so next thing is we need to go to... we need to go to AMP. I will just do it through chat. I, hmm. Well, they never quite gave me the price that I wanted in the Treasuries, and I'm not sure if I feel confident about buying it here. Hmm. In fact, it seems like it's kind of all over the place in this range in Zen. So it kind of feels like they're not really holding prices very well at all, are they? Hmm. Okay. I am 4 in the queue for that, so that sucks. Hmm. So Treasuries recovered most of the move, but the E-mini. Oops. Okay. Lucas says I haven't placed a single trade due to being sick last week and increased volatility this week, starting to feel I am missing out. I don't know, dude. Like, the thing is that if you're not in the right state, this kind of action can just screw you over, you know? But that's where I think that switching between accounts, you know, is really useful because you can go in and you can say, okay, let me take one on sim and see how my read is and how I'm acting, and then if it works, then I can switch over, you know, that sort of a thing. Get a feel for it, and then if you really are trading crap because you're sick. There was actually quite a lot of volume on that spike in the treasuries. 23,000. That was interesting. Did you see that? A couple of hundreds traded there on the mess. There was a pretty big iceberg there in the E-mini. We're actually below the open. That kind of changes things for me. Oh, I forgot to. I told you guys you're supposed to remind me to turn on the robot. I think sim might work for some people, but for me, it just doesn't. I make crappy decisions because deep down I don't care because it's not real, and then I carry those bad choices on my real account. See, for me, when I do that, it actually makes me care more because then I'm like, well, I better be really sure that this is the right one. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to trade live today. And what if I make a mistake and I screw this one up and then I actually do miss a good opportunity? So they're kind of doing the zipper thing here. Well, I'm second in the queue. Now Donald Trump tweeted something else about the whole obstruction of justice thing. That's kind of the funny thing is that tweet. I mean, sometimes Donald Trump does tweet things intended to like send signals to the market or move things. I don't think that was the intention with that tweet. I think that the intention with that tweet was to give people a reason to want to vote for him because he'll be tough on China and Joe Biden will not. That's what he's saying. And the thing that's interesting about this from a political perspective, again, is that we did not see a lot of news on the political channels about the trade war yesterday, day before. r/politics, like the social media, they haven't mentioned it at all. They've been full blown on we should impeach him and all of this sort of nonsense. And they're starting to turn their attention a little bit more towards Biden. And I think maybe part of that is because the Chinese are trying to pull a fast one, right? Chinese are trying to pull a fast one, and I think that everybody is kind of together on it right now. I might be proven wrong, and now they've now Donald Trump has tweeted something. Now maybe they have to. If you can't stay disciplined in sim, you won't stay disciplined in live, in my opinion. Well, I think you have a good point, Smash the Bid, but there is something to it that there's the emotion of it is different for sure. And I think that the key here is that you've got to be able to stay disciplined regardless of what your emotions are. But I don't know if that really clarified anything or resolved anything, but I guess that was just kind of another point, right? Seth, would you only front run icebergs? What you think uh, and experience? So here's what I've found about icebergs. Um, if you've just had a really big move and you get an iceberg, that's often a good place to get out. The thing about an iceberg is that when they happen, the bid or offer that you're going in at is low, and so it's a lot easier for you to get a limit order filled. So if if you were short and there was an iceberg at evens, which I suspect there may be, um, you have a better chance of getting filled, and you don't have to worry about, oh, if it comes down and then I have to hit into it and all that sort of a thing, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is that I found that whenever you get an iceberg, that's not necessarily the end of it. I used to trade it like that was always the exit. And that's always where I expected it to stop, like that the iceberg would stop it. And then sometimes what would happen is we would go through the iceberg and I would be like, oh, okay, no, now it's going to break and I want to go long again. And then I would go long again and then they would catch me. 1183 is not what I was expecting to see. So that nixes that one. Anyways, and so instead what I've found is when I see an iceberg, I immediately think, okay, 1 to 2 tick range around that iceberg. So one tick, there's a pretty good chance that they're going to trade at least a little bit. If there was an iceberg at evens, there'd be a pretty good chance that they're going to trade at least a little bit into 31.5. And more often than not, especially when things are busy, they're going to go through 31.5 and they're maybe even going to trade 31 and 30.5. But you almost immediately will get a range in there. But when you get a range in there, that is still a good place to get out. So you kind of have to play it based on what is the action like today in order to take it. So it's interesting that they're ticking up there at all halves. Seems a little suspicious. So I wanted evens. Now they're ticking up, and it makes me want to hit into 01. But I'm not so sure that this is just going to go down. Or sorry, that this is just going to go up, and E-mini's not clear, and we're in a pretty bad time frame, so I think I should just hold off. The VIX is about to explode higher thanks to a record short squeeze. Oh, we should check over here. I'm still second in the queue. I thought you were going to say, here's what I found about icebergs. Sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. Ace is actually getting a long trade. That's interesting. So I don't know if you were there when this happened, Ace, but a little bit earlier, Donald Trump tweeted basically saying that he thinks the reason that China is trying to renege on the deal is that they're hoping that Joe Biden is going to win and that they'll be able to get an easier trade deal because of that. That's what he said. I don't know if he actually believes that or not. He's probably just playing politics with it. But the market really, really reacted to that tweet. And the market orders in the E-mini were very much long. You can see here on my chart, a couple thousand long. Well, I guess it was about 4,000 long. Yeah, it was about 4,000 contracts long. But it's really curious. And so right now, here just ahead of the open, I am like skeptical about any kind of signals that the market is giving me. The only thing that I'm paying attention to here is that this 124 is the 50% retracement of the overnight move. And so that's interesting to me because of that. Your president is an immoral, illogical, uneducated, scientifically illiterate buffoon. Well, I kind of thought that he made from a political perspective, right? In terms of like, is this convincing towards getting more people to vote for him? I think that he made a pretty sly call there because he's right. The I don't think that the Democrats would be as tough. In fact, if it was a Democrat, we wouldn't even be discussing a trade deal, right? This is only happening because of Donald Trump. So it's hard for voters not to think that the Democrats would be easier on them. Orange man bad. Here's the thing. This is why I think that the focus on the person is not helpful. And when I say not helpful, like for somebody's angrily making breakfast now, for your ability to predict what is going to happen, what policies are going to happen, what politicians are going to do, say, and how markets might be affected by that, it's unhelpful to focus on the person. The person doesn't matter because the forces, the powers that be that elect these people, and I'm not talking like some conspiracy or anything like that. I'm just saying, if I'm in an industry and there's a certain policy that would really, really help me, I'm going to vote for the person that is going to help my industry. And the person that wins is always the person that has the most power, the most capital behind them, like political capital behind them, right? And if they then get elected and they go out and they don't do the things that the people that elected them to do, then they're not going to get reelected. That's how democracy works. that's the way the system is set up, right? They don't do it, then they won't vote for them. And the whole point of a republic is that the majority, or not the majority, but the because different people are going to have different interests, but the people with the most interests are going to win. And it might not necessarily be like on a per person basis. Like there might be some people, like a few number of people that hold a lot of the power and are responsible for the majority of the economic activity in a country, and so they're gonna hold more influence, right? But that's why I'm using the word power, not people, right? So Donald Trump, he was elected by people. One of the main reasons that he was elected was because he was going to be tougher on trade. So for China to think that they could come in and put out a crappy deal and that they would go for it is quite foolish. Donald Trump is saying that that's not what happened, that they think that they're going to get a different that they're going to get a different candidate, a different president next time. But what he's doing is he's saying, this is one of the primary reasons that I was elected. Now I'm strengthening that argument, right? It makes it more likely for him to get elected because that interest is turned out last election to be enough to build a coalition out of and win. Now I'm a little frustrated that it's not giving me zeros again. But I was saying I don't want to trade this time period, right? So it's going to be interesting because they're supposed to meet today, right? So it's going to be interesting to see if anything comes out of the talks today. The notice of tariff hikes is now in the Federal Register. I guess that was the thing that Just Being Me was tweeting about earlier, right? Not tweeting, but posting about. Okay, there's my iceberg at 01. Now I don't want to take it. Are you staying for the auction? I wish. I was actually considering staying home today because there was some stuff going on, but then it turned out that I didn't need to. The auction is usually good though, isn't it? So this to me is a buy because um I wanted to buy 124. We just barely touched it, came up, and then as we're coming back down into it, there's an iceberg there. But remember, I said when they get an iceberg, the tendency is to range around the iceberg. Think of it as like, okay, here's a big guy that wants to get filled. How do you fill this guy without everybody having to lose against him, right? Well, then you have to range around it. The market maker has to make it range around it so that he can make a profit off of it. Auctions are good for ATMs sometimes. I don't know what you mean by ATMs, but the auctions are usually a good trade. See, it's having a hard time filling there. Okay. So I got filled well, and we got an uptick. So I'm happy about that, but the uptick got rejected. Okay. Yeah, they're still selling it down. They're still not letting it go. Even though the E-mini is pushing lows now. Okay. That's quite an aggressive sell. Are they going to push through that previous swing low? It was just a little bit further, 27.7625. And I'm just noticing that the treasuries are not upticking the way that they were. Okay, so that was a pretty strong down move in the ES. Now they're pushing through that swing. So now they're going to go for the overnight lows. I should change this so when the parameters, auto center ticks 8. Hmm. So that came back on us with not much warning at all. Okay, there was a sweep in the ES. I would not buy this. I would not buy the E-mini at all today. When I've seen that sweep, man, that thing should put fear in your soul if you're long in the E-mini, man. Because last time that I saw that, that just went down and down and down, and it was fucking crazy. Okay. Yeah, that is like a do not fade this signal for me. Okay. So I'm being cautious because of that was the game plan from yesterday. Remember, we're saying we got to get our spot, and when it's coming through, it's when it's giving me any kind of an exit, I need to take it. So right there, it's ranging around a 1/2, and it's not really going. I think that there could be a lot more in this if the E-mini really decides to run, but I want to be cautious. So I don't want to make the mistake I made yesterday. And it gave me that stupid error again. But it's okay. See that tick down tick, and 01 is pulling. It could be a lure, but that's exactly what I was worried about. Okay, E-mini is reverting a little bit. Seth can't stay for the action. He has to go work for the man making them rich. So I was just thinking, because it sounds to me it's like you're quite anti-Trump. So if you don't mind, and if it's too personal, it's totally okay. But who would you have liked to have had? And they didn't even necessarily have to have run, but who would you have liked to have had in 2016? That I think is, the most elucidating about what a person thinks. Well, like what they think is important to, in a leader, I guess. You probably pick up by now the personality of the person, like, does not matter to me. Does not matter to me. Literally anyone. Okay, so what did you vote for Hillary? Or would you have voted for Hillary if you knew that would have prevented Donald Trump from being president? I guess. Or I guess if you could just snap your fingers and Hillary would be president instead of Donald Trump, would you do that? Janet Yellen. I mean, I would be okay with Janet Yellen being president, probably. Gumby. Okay, so now it looks like maybe they're going to continue through. That O2 is at least getting weak. But I think that the action that we just saw there was enough. It confirmed that there was a signal. You could maybe have taken it long again at 01, but the level 2 is dinking around with me enough that I don't think that I want to take another trade in here. I think Hillary cares about humanity, is at least a decent human being, maybe annoying, but is a patriot at least. That's interesting that you say that. Is at least a decent human being, because most conservative people would not say that. So that tells me something. That's interesting. That's interesting. Uzi says he puts away the 10-foot pole. See, I try to take it from a. So here's where I come from. Okay, because I get pretty involved, or have in the past, not recently, but I think that once we get this yard taken care of, then I want to get more involved again. But I used to be pretty involved in the politics. Like when Mia Love ran, we the first time that she ran, we helped her get to convention and become the nominee and all of that. Like, I remember setting up the booth and all that stuff. So we were like pretty involved like early on, right? I think your tax and draft dodging, money losing president has some deep personality disorders and is incapable of normal feelings. Okay, so I have a feeling on that too, but let me finish this first point. So I've helped a couple of politicians. You dislike Mia as well. Well, everybody dislikes Mia. Okay, but I'll explain why. So here's the thing that I think you will find if you are really into politics, because you get to be quite acquainted with who these people really are. in a way that when I'm looking at like who Donald Trump is or who Joe Biden is, you really don't know them. Really, what they say in public and what you see in the media is really not you hold a candle to like when you meet them in person, right? And I've met some politicians that I thought were really great people. Okay. I've seen some of them. Almost always, they'll always do or say something that I'm kind of like, okay. So like, there's this one guy I thought he was really really good, but he was doing some fishy business with his finances because in Utah, if you can't just transfer money from one campaign to another. So like, if you ran for mayor and then you want to run for Senate, you can't just take all of the money from your mayor campaign and put it into your Senate campaign without paying taxes. And so instead what they do is they donate to everybody else and then tell everybody else to donate back to you. And that's illegal in Utah. Like in fact, the election commission like tells you to do it. But I would say, nah, especially if you have a ton of money, just pay the tax on it. It's probably better because the perception that you get is bad. And it's kind of like, so it's not worth it, right? So they do that sort of thing, but or they'll just have a policy where I'm like, they don't get it. They don't understand that issue as well as they think they do. They're just not an expert in everything, and that's just kind of the thing is you start to realize that, you know what, on certain topics, you're gonna, especially if you're involved in markets, you're gonna find that you know a lot more about those than many people, and that includes some of the people that are running for office. But you'll still find people that you really, really like. And I say, I really, really like those people. And I tell you what, if you run across a politician that you think that this person, they really have it, right? And they check all of my boxes and they seem like a good person. And maybe we will finally have a good person in the White House. If you ever start feeling that, run. Effing run. Because that will never happen. It will never happen. And if you feel that way, that person is manipulating you. You have fallen for their tricks, and something bad is going to happen. And if they get elected, they're going to fuck you over, and you are going to regret ever supporting them. 100%. I guarantee it. It is a counter signal. If a politician checks all of your boxes, be suspicious. Something's wrong. That doesn't happen. Okay? And that's why I changed things around. And I said, it's really, the person doesn't matter. What matters is the coalition behind the person. The person is almost obligation. Yeah, it's adorable when people think politicians care about humanity. The thing is that, again, if the politician doesn't do what the coalition formed them to do, then they're not going to get elected again. And so, in effect, you almost can't think of politicians as people, or you have to separate the person from the politician. They're separate things. They're separate things. So Uzi says politicians don't care about humanity. I tend to agree with that. If you want to be a successful politician, you're going to have a little bit of psychopathy. Or you're going to have the ability to disconnect it and say, okay, my coalition and what we need to do is this. And that might be against the interests of certain people, but it's in the interest of the majority of the country. And that is what I was put in place to do. You have to be able to make that kind of a decision, or you're simply not going to be able to stay in office. You know, they say that like people complain about that money in politics has too much power. Nah, like that's the way that a capitalist democracy is like designed. It's a feature, folks. It's a feature that the political system tends to favor the people with the most money. It's a feature. If it didn't, then you get like Venezuela, where you do something that is completely counter to the interest of the main moneymaker in the country, which was the oil company. They decide to nationalize it, and then everything goes to shit. So it's a feature, 100%. So Mia Love, Nobody likes Mia Love. Why does nobody like Mia Love? Because once she was in office, she did not hold to anything that any possible coalition that you could form in Utah would do. Right? She's supposed to be a Republican. She didn't really make the right decisions for you. She did not help Republicans, let's say. Okay? They might go a little bit lower now. She did not help Republicans, but then for the anti-Trump crowd, she didn't really do any of the things that the anti-Trump crowd wanted either. And of course, the Democrats in the area don't like her, of course, no matter what, right? And so when push came to shove and they got down to it and she was in danger, she did not have any coalition to back her up. And that's why she lost. It's like people who think politicians want artificially high minimum wages give a shit about whether or not you can afford to live as opposed to wanting to have more income for them to tax. Right. Right. So the one of the big problems in America, well, I don't want to call it a problem. Let's not try and take a side on it, but let's just say one of the key things that is happening in the American political system that is different than, say, like 50 years ago is that the state itself has become an interest, right? There are people that make money just from their relationships with the state. There are people that are on welfare. There are companies that just get huge tax breaks from them or investments from the government. There are people that work for the government. There are people that, the larger that their bureaucracy is, the more money they make. And so the state itself has become an interest. And it's a quite large one. It's enough to get somebody elected. Can't sell the working class on jacking up the income tax, but you can sell them on inflating their wages so there's more for you to tax. Bing. Well, inflation is a tax, yeah. I still don't understand though why are wages not going up? I mean, I can see there's quite a bit trading at the zeros now. I'm glad I bought it there the first time though, and I'm glad that I got out where I did. But yeah, the thing has been that for the past really since I want to say probably even before Reagan, probably going back to like what was his name? Someone that I didn't like, Lyndon B. Johnson. Is that workers have lost out to the state essentially. Any gain that they make in wages gets washed out by inflation, and so their actual real wages are pretty much stagnant. Donald Trump got elected because that group of people finally had enough and said, okay, well, I don't necessarily know what's going on, but I know that you have not been helping me with my particular interest. So I'm going to try this guy that's, and if he just wrecks the system, oh, well, maybe that's better for me in the long run. I think that's what a lot of people said. You got to keep in mind, like if you go to the Donald subreddit and Donald Trump does something crazy, they love it. They love it. Because to them, it's not necessarily about like doing the smart, correct thing. It's about wrecking the system. And anything that he can do to come in and disrupt the system and change people's perceptions about what should happen. In reality, Donald Trump has already accomplished the main thing that he was intended to be elected for. If you're making $12 an hour and being taxed 30% on that today, it's less than if you're paying that same 30% on $15 an hour or higher. Yeah. But the people that make $12 and $15 an hour don't pay taxes, though. That's the thing. put more money in the hands of working class, and you can increase income tax revenues without increasing income taxes. Yes. Well, so not the people that are down at the bottom, but the people that are like above $53,000 a year or whatever, the more money that you can get into their hands. But it's even more than that. If you give all of the money to the people up at the top, you can tax that, right? You can tax that. And then you have to remember that inflation is a tax. A certain amount of inflation is necessary, okay? Deflation is like really, really bad, and that 2% target is reasonable, I think. But once you start getting more inflation than that, it is a tax. Yeah. A person making minimum wage would have to work 275 years to make as much money as Trump lost in 10. Oh, and he's also going long again. That's interesting. You made money on that for so long, didn't you? I think so. No, well, it came down, but I think he still would have made money. I'm surprised here. I thought when it was back at zeros and there was that iceberg there, I was like, maybe I should take it, but nah, I'm gonna wait it out. Should have done it. Should have done it. The E-mini is heading down again. Oh, you know what? I need to check my app. Oh. Oh, crap. I missed it. Okay. So let's redo that. Oh, ace meant short. Okay, well then that's a horse of a different color. Yeah, okay, whatever. Back in the queue, basically. They asked me a queue. I didn't see that they had responded, and they put me back in the queue. How can anyone trade NQ? That thing is insane, right? It's kind of crazy. I wouldn't trade it. By the way, this particular buy in Treasuries is a little overdone. They came up there really quickly, but there is some liquidity behind it, trying to hold it now. That's interesting. I'm tempted to just buy into it, but I think not. 20 is the open. Should have taken it at zeros again instead of talking and then coming up there. Okay, so there was one other thing while we're waiting for Amp to get back to us. There was one other thing I wanted to talk about. That story, because you kind of referenced that story in the New York Times yesterday about how much money Donald Trump lost in 10 years. Um, I feel like that story is a little manipulative and dishonest, and here's why. Because we already knew, right? Like, first of all, don't you guys remember that time when Rachel Maddow said that she had Donald Trump's tax returns? And she said, oh, it shows here that he carried over some losses from previous years and that he didn't pay any taxes that year. Like, we already confirmed that. In fact, a more strong confirmation than the one that we got in that New York Times story. Okay. But not only that, he wrote a whole book about it. Like, he lost like literally everything in a 10-year time frame in real estate, and he had to start completely over, and he wrote a book called The Art of the Comeback, right? So it's like not a new thing. And honestly, if you're in real estate and you were involved in the market at that time, you're going to lose money, right? Sometimes you lose money. I can't sit, you can't sit down and say, you know, well, like just from our perspective as traders, right? There are certain markets are gonna just hit you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And the whole thing is you need to have a expectancy over time, but you can't expect to never lose. And if you're in the real estate market during that time, you got hurt probably, you know. And it kind of makes me mad from that perspective for people to say, well, you lost this much money and that means you're a bad business person. And I'm like, have you ever lost money before? What's the most amount of money that you've lost? Obviously, you guys all understand, right? Yesterday I lost what, $50. I made it back today. That's cool. Um, last year I think when we were trading this and things went south for us, I think it was like $700 we lost. Um, oh, and then there was that guy that we paid to do the yard, and he didn't do it. That was like 2,000 or something like that. Like we paid him for the grass, and he didn't get it, right? So like that's the most amount of money I've ever lost in my life. And you're talking about a person that if interest rates move just a teeny tiny little bit, or if the housing market goes down a teeny little bit, he can lose millions of dollars in a day. And it's not even necessarily a big deal, right? So how can we claim to know how good of a businessman he is, or really claim to say that we know anything about that particular situation? We can't even fathom what it is like to lose that much money. You know what I'm saying? There is a key context in that story that I think is being left out, that is giving people ideas that are not. It's deceptive. They have a perception of the way reality is that I don't think is right. Wrong says my first trades were all on NQ. I'm telling you guys, the NQ is the Widowmaker. Is his carried over losses or whatever the big bombshell? Yeah, essentially. That's why I'm like, it's old news, guys. Everybody knows that he lost money that time. His real estate. The real estate market crashed, guys. Of course he lost money. He probably lost money in 2008 and is still carrying it over. I really don't understand how you guys trade bonds. No. Why not? Because it's too boring? Well, the way that it's trading right now, I don't think is necessarily the best thing. I was really concerned that it was going to bust up through there at O2 and just go up and I was going to miss it. Now I'm looking at it and I'm like, I don't think that I want to mess with this. It's boring as fuck. Yes, it is. For me, in my opinion, um, with treasuries. Because here's the thing, I'm quite ADHD, right? I say things like, I know if I share a certain political opinion that some people are going to turn off because they don't want to hear that. I find it's a very alien thing to me because I like to argue and I've just realized that I like to be against the consensus. So like that video, the political analysis of the Democrat race that I posted yesterday or Monday rather, and all of these Bernie Sanders supporters came in and were arguing with me about the polls and everything like that. That was like the greatest thing in the world for me. I was like, oh my gosh, I get to, there's all these crazy people that are clearly wrong, and I get to argue with them, and it increases the engagement on my video. Like, this is great. I loved it. I don't know why I brought that particular thing up, but anyways, the action, yeah, I like it, and you can tell when it's active. I tend to trade better, But I found from hard experience that you've got to learn the boring. Like if you can sit and you can make money off of the boring one, that in the long run it's going to help you. Okay, so here's an iceberg at 05. It's being a little finicky. I think I'm gonna wait. Most people these days are really adverse to political debate or good old-fashioned arguments, right? Yeah, yeah. It's only because to me I enjoy it, and to me that would make me want to listen to a stream. But then if I get into that, then people are going to tune out a little bit, which is okay. But whatever. But the point of that was that when it comes into those sorts of things, it's like I get the urge to talk about it. It's almost painful for me to not talk about it. You know what I mean? Oh, nice, Lucas. Lucas got 3 ticks selling O2 to O5. Feels good to be able to trade again. That was a good trade, and I think a good signal that you got there. And that was one that I don't think that I would have had the heart to do. Good job, homeboy eating KFC when Bar wouldn't show up. That stuff's amazing. I find it funny too. But you and I, Uzi, I think that we have a feeling about politics that the rest of the world doesn't share. To me, I've been watching this, because I've been into it since I was, in high school. So you're talking to somebody that's got a good 20 years of watching this nonsense under their belt. It kind of stops at a certain point. You kind of stop being affected by the hysteria, like they do that. The intention is to be outraged. This is outrageous. Yeah, you can only be outraged for so long, and so everybody else is all thinking, well, this is terrible. Like, we need to do something. This is not okay. And I'm just sitting over here thinking, well, it could be worse. We could be in Vietnam, Like the country has dealt with much bigger problems than the problems that we're dealing with right now, in my opinion, right? And so everything I say, look at it as a game. I know that people would be offended by that and say this is not a game. Like, this is serious stuff. The world is going to die if we don't do something about climate change in 6 years or whatever the number is. And It's to me, this is a game. You have to think about it as a game, because if you don't think about it as a game, you're gonna get too caught up and you're gonna make bad decisions. That's just the way that it is. And but people don't think of it that way. But it's the ADHD. It's like it comes out. I can't help it. I have the arguing. Like I just want to argue. Sometimes it's just I have to do it. You have to get out of the system, and it's like if you don't do it, I'll just sit there and stew about it. Like, oh, but this person on the internet is wrong, and I need to tell them that they're wrong. Uzi says, I got a lot of friends who live in perpetual anxiety and depression over politics. Is quite sad. Yeah. Well, I can't imagine what it must be like emotionally for the really engaged Democrats right now. Like the people that I tend to argue with on r/politics, like, that must suck. That must really suck. The Yemeni is making quite a decent recovery here. I don't know. Treasuries moving down below that 50% retracement area now. So I think they've decided that it's not interesting. Anyways. So if you have that kind of impulsivity, and then you get yourself on a instrument like the E-mini, where lots of stuff is going on all of the time, then what ends up happening is you just overtrade. Right? We've seen that a few times, and then the way that I resolved it in ES was I said I'm only going to take them at these certain times. Right? It kind of hurts, and so there is a benefit. Anybody could benefit from learning to trade the treasuries, because that patience that you have to have in order to trade the treasuries is going to carry over to any other instrument, and it's really going to help you. That was the whole point of that. I know that we went on like 5 different tangents through it, but that was the point of that. So, to the point about perpetual anxiety and depression over politics, I think this goes, well, that's interesting that they stacked at 120 at evens there. Maybe we're going to move up again. I don't know. I don't think I want to trade it, though. I think that I want to just take my 3 and be done. This goes back to the thing that we've been saying about that people have replaced religion with politics, right? I think that one of the reasons why people have so much anxiety and depression lately is because we don't have real life communities anymore. You can kind of try and find it online. I think that streaming really helps. I feel like we got a good community, and I feel like we've got a good connection with the half a dozen or so of you guys that we see every morning. Like, I really like it, and I think that it makes a positive influence on the trade, and it's just like, just knowing that you're in a community and that you got people with you, like, changes your perspective on life. Okay, here they're responding to me. And when you don't have that community, I think that your body says something's wrong. Like, because if there's not a community, that means that there's like a war or a famine, like things aren't good, and your body reacts with anxiety and depression, because that's what you need to survive in that kind of like desperate circumstance. And so I think that what's going on is that people don't go to church anymore, and that's where the community used to be in our society. They don't talk to their neighbors, and they don't have a community. It's like they're in the wilderness, and most of them aren't able to find that degree of community online. And honestly, even though I think the community that we have helps here for trading, it would not be enough for your entire life, you know? You got to have something else. You got to have something else. Politics became a thing of passion, so you can relate anything that requires some sort of belief or passion to politics now. That's not good. They go on Facebook and morally grandstand. Yeah, because what happened was that they said, okay, the place that I can go to find community now is on Facebook, and so they try and go and find like-minded people. But the only reason that they were able to get that kind of interaction on Facebook in the first place was because of the engagement that it creates when people argue, and you don't want to be arguing with people. So then everybody, okay, so hold on a second. He's saying something to me that's wrong. Oh, that's not. You got 400 friends on Facebook and none of them talk to you unless you post something political they disagree with. Then they chime in to tell you how much better than they are than you because of political permission, because of political opinions. Yes. I didn't read that well, but I totally agree with you, Izzy. We kind of it was kind of like a great trap. And then what did everybody do? Was they said, these darn Trump supporters, they're they're inhuman. We shouldn't be talking to them. We need to cut them all out from our lives. So then they just isolate themselves more. And so now they have a dysfunctional community, but not only do they have a dysfunctional community, but they've cut out half of the people from that community. So it's even more dysfunctional. Facebook is dying though. Yeah. Well, and the thing that's weird about the Facebook thing is that, you know, it's all about having as big of a network as you possibly can. And but people can really only handle, you know, like 200 close connections, Dunbar's number or whatever, right? So in reality, with Facebook, having a circle, being giving the people the ability to have 1,000 friends is not it, people can't handle it, right? And I think that it starts to mess with people. I think that people start to get ideas about where they are in the social hierarchy that is incorrect because they have 1,000 friends on Facebook or whatever. Oh, I have to take the kids in today, don't I? So I should probably, while this is happening. So I'm not going to take any more trades, even though it is kind of back to where I wanted to buy it. It's curious how that worked out because I was really hoping for like a real slam dunk winner today, and there was some action, but I think I correctly stayed out of that, and I just have the view that outside of Trump being Boris turd, shit really ain't all that bad, so I'm a Nazi then. So yeah. Oh, so that was another tangent that I wanted to go on, but I stopped myself, and now would be a good time to talk about it. I believe that Donald Trump is ADHD. I think that almost all of his behavior can be explained by him being ADHD. So that impulsivity, it's that thing where it's like when people watch him um talk, that they don't like him. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, he says he's gonna fix it. They're at regular session highs. Hold on a second. I think he's just a dipshit boomer. His tweets are legit boomer posts. Like, his behavior online is no different from the dipshittery you see in Yahoo comment sections. Lol. I'm surprised all his tweets aren't in capital letters. Yeah, well, I think that's there's some of that going on too, for sure. But I think that he has ADHD. Okay, let's see here. He says that I should be fine now. Let's see if I put one in. Oh no, wait. Do I have it? No. Okay. Cool. Now I should be able to trade it. That was easy. Well, like, one of the things that's so interesting to me is that he'll tweet something, and then to me it makes complete sense. And like, the logic and the strategy and why he might be tweeting that and everything makes complete sense to me. It's like, okay, I'm seeing this out there, and that's wrong. And so if I tweet something, then that will get the correct information out there, or at least to get the discussion going. And then, it will change the discussion in my direction. And then you get on the news, and they're all like, "This is crazy. Like, why would he say that? Why would the president of the United States tweet something like that? It's so horrible." And I'm just like, what? You guys don't get, like, you don't get it, or like here's a better example. This one is a little bit dangerous to talk about, but the whole very fine people thing. Okay, so like, I remember when that happened, because I remember the post on the Donald about it, um, and I saw it, and I was like, well, this doesn't look to me like an event that I would be interested in attending. I don't really know who these people are. But so I just ignored it. I didn't go in there. I should have gone in and said, okay, who are these people? And realized that Richard Spencer, at the very least, was speaking there, and he is basically a white nationalist, and that this shouldn't be allowed on the Donald subreddit. It's against the rules. Was really what should have happened. But it didn't happen. I think that most of us just kind of ignored it. And he and you know, a lot of people went there. So then when it was happening, like they had the candlelight vigil thing, I remember they were posting on there like, oh, don't worry about it, guys. Like, there are some crazy people that are coming to an event, because crazy people come to every event, but that's not going to be the majority of the people that are going to be there tomorrow. It's going to be okay, right? And then the whole thing happened the next day, right? So that was like my perspective. So then he's coming in and he's having that conversation, and he says, okay, yeah, there was some people that wanted the statue to stay, and there were some people that wanted the statue to leave. And on those two sides, there is good people. And then the media tried to, like, there in the press conference said, well, how can you say that? That's just absolutely terrible. That there are good people on both sides. Like, how can you say that? And he clarified right then and there. I'm not talking about the racists and the white nationalists and everything. They should be condemned totally, right? But then you go back and you look at the way that that it's portrayed later, and everybody is like, no, how could he say that white nationalists are good people? That's not what he said. But see, I understand it because I talk that way too sometimes. My brain thinks that way too. It's disjointed sometimes. An impulse will come in from over here, and you just want to go with it, and like you can go with it. Like sometimes it works, and so you just kind of learn to just like go with the flow, you know? I think it kind of helps with streaming sometimes. You know, we can get in on a discussion and it's interesting, even though you're jumping around. Of course, at some point people are like, well, this guy is kind of all over the place, but I digress. I think the same way. And so when he says that, I understand it completely. But then what the media sees is completely different. It's completely different, you know? When the people you're talking to don't differentiate between KKK members and some boomer who doesn't want a statue to come down because history, there's really no winning. Well, yeah. See, the thing that I think is disappointing about that whole episode is that there are two major episodes. There are two major issues out there that thing was really about, that are now left perpetually unresolved. And the two issues are really this. The first one is Antifa are bad guys. They are. Straight up. I don't want to be like, this person is, willy-nilly with that sort of a thing. Like, I'm saying a serious thing, right? Antifa are bad guys. Okay? They are anarcho-communists. They want to destroy democracy. They want to destroy the United States government. They want to implement a communist government where there is no private property and the means of productions are communally owned, and there is no government at all, essentially, because they're anarcho-communists. Okay? And they're bad people, and they aim to use violence to effect that end. That's who they are, okay? So they're bad guys. 100% they are. Nobody wants to admit it because they're basically the liberals' attack dogs. Well, maybe not so much anymore, but at the time, the liberals were totally supporting them. I think they've kind of cut them off since then. But they're supporting these guys. They're bad guys. And they don't want to admit that, right? Number two thing is why do they want to get rid of the statue? And the thing is they've been around for a long time, and why is it all of a sudden now that it is offensive? Well, part of it is the political correctness thing, but I was taught, at least, that after the Civil War, because of course the Civil War was about slavery, but there's kind of a little bit of a larger question there, because the North could have gone in and said, okay, we destroyed the South, and now we're going to have a treaty, and as part of the treaty, you can't have slaves anymore. But we'll still be a separate country because we hate you guys and we don't really want to be one country, right? That's not how it happened, right? The North wanted to be one country. And so really, you can think about the war as the war over whether we were going to be one country or two countries, right? I'm not saying it wasn't about slavery. It was totally about slavery, but this was this is really the other quintessential question. Like, slavery was the cause, but whether or not we should be one country or not is the question, right? And so when the North won, they said, okay, we're going to be one country. And in order to do that, we have to reconcile. And so they did a couple of different things. And Jefferson Davis and all these guys, they helped. They totally helped to try and reunify. So they said all of the leaders that were involved in the rebellion, they got pardons. Everybody was pardoned. General Lee, he got to go and teach at West Point, I believe, right? The military academy, and lived out his days. Jefferson Davis lived out his days. I don't think they ever became like citizens again, but like they didn't go away. Okay. And then they also said everybody that fought in the Civil War was an American. And so regardless of which side they were on, we're going to treat them like they were Americans. So they can be buried in the military cemetery at Arlington, right? And that was like where Arlington came from, wasn't it? If I recall correctly, right? This was all about reconciliation. And so part of that was that they made the statues because they said all of these people that fought and that died in the Civil War, regardless of whether or not they were on the right side and regardless of whether or not they were fighting for the right thing, they were still Americans and we honor them. And that's why they created the statues, so that there could be reconciliation. So in my mind at least, when we come in and we say we need to take these statues down, what you're really saying is that we don't think that there should have been reconciliation with the North and the South. We think that all of the people that were involved in the Civil War were traitors and they should have been hanged. And these statues shouldn't have been built. And the soldiers that died on the southern side shouldn't have been given burials in Arlington, because there really shouldn't be reconciliation. And when you start to think of it from that perspective, then really what you see it as is it's a cultural attack, right? And I think that was lost in all of that. The people that were in favor of the statue staying, that's kind of what they felt, but they also felt like that the other side was trying to use this thing that was like, but you can't say that because that would be racist. And the other side was like, well, I'm a little bit tired of the basically everything being manipulated and being called racist. It seems to me like it's not really about racism, but that's just a word that you use to try and control people. And so it was almost like they picked an issue that they knew that people would try and make accusations of racist, to say, you know what? No, fuck you. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you're going to call it, because that's not really what it is. And we're going to make a stand and prove that we can actually, that there's other things at stake here and that it has absolutely nothing to do with race. But then somebody died, and so all of that just got thrown out the window. And really, it's really a sad thing that she died. And I add, she totally died, and that guy hit her and dragged her like 20 feet. All right, go and find her in the video. that car dragged her like 20 feet and killed her. It was an awful thing that happened. And that guy, he sat on the hill and thought about it for like 20 minutes and then went down into the thing. It was 100% premeditated. That guy's a shitbag. But there's this unresolved issue, and I don't know if we'll ever resolve it. So that there's another rant. I've had many rants today. So Uzi had a couple of comments here. I didn't realize that I probably want to read out loud here. Watch that CNN interview with the Antifa chick, where the reporter glowed over her brass knuckles and fold-out knives she carries. I like punching and stabbing people. I'm the good guy. Antifa has taught me that we can bring back political hit jobs. We just have to give them a nice sounding name and we're good. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that's really weird about all this is that, like when a lot of the kind of political correctness stuff started to happen, or some of the anti-conservative social movements back in the 90s really started to come to a fore and started to happen on the internet. And all of the old people, it was all the old people, of course, those old, that are stuck in their old ways and everything, were like, you shouldn't do this. This is a bad idea. And I think that everybody just assumed that it was like, it's because they have their morals and they don't want to think or consider anything else. But I think now, 20 years later, I have realized that that is not why they said that at all. And I can look back at the history now, and they've lived through World War II and Vietnam and all of these things. There's almost nothing about this situation that the United States faces today that is unique, other than the issue with trade. That is the only one that I see that is like purely unique in the modern era. And so the reality is that they lived through it and they saw that it led to bad things, and they were warning us that we would run into the same problems, and we didn't listen. That's what I feel like happened. And I think that's kind of what's going on with Antifa. It's like this political violence sort of a thing. Everybody wants to pretend that it's like you've goaded people into doing it. This Donald Trump person, he said something and that emboldens people, or that makes them think that they should go and be violent. That's not how it works. The truth that nobody wants to admit is that people are violent by nature. The genocide, this like whole genocide thing, the genocide is not some artifact of a modern society. Okay, monkeys act out genocide. Monkeys commit genocide, right? It's ingrained into humans to do it. That there's two sides, and the only way for me to survive is to kill the other side. It's ingrained into them. And so you're going to see throughout your life, even if this thing dies down today, it's going to happen again. There's going to be a group of people that are going to say that we need to be violent against the other side. It's going to happen because it's human nature for them to say that. And every time that you say that, you've got to say, this is the thing. This is what I'm here for. I'm one of those people that understand the way that it is, that understands that human nature is shitty, and that I have to come in and stand in front of them and prevent them from doing it, as much as it sucks. But there has to be somebody to fight human nature sometimes, Mm-mm. That's my favorite thing. Someone else made me do horrible things. They're at fault. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That whole thing just doesn't make, that whole line of argument doesn't make sense. Like, he's emboldening them. That's why they're committing mass murder. You don't commit mass murders when you think you're winning, guys. You don't. In fact, I think that one of the reasons why we're starting to see these mass murders is because these guys thought, because they were told by the media that Donald Trump was racist, and they thought that he was racist and that he was going to do the racist things that they wanted him to do. And then it turned out that Donald Trump is actually quite progressive on race. He's done a lot of things to help the black community. He is very, very concerned about anti-Semitism because his daughter is a Jew, right? And he turned out to be not what they wanted, and so now they feel like their back is to the wall, and that's why they're doing shit now, I think, personally. Anyways, let's type this out here. I think I saw some news about that. I want to check here really quick. I think they were saying that the cold wallet is almost completely gone. Binance hacked. Hmm. It's interesting. Well, there was a bit of a fall and then retrace. That 80-year-old man was wearing a hat, so I shattered his jaw. All he had to do was not wear that hat. It's his fault. Yeah. The symbols are a thing. Like tribe tends to have tribal garb, and the tribal garb of the Donald Trump movement is the hat. That's why they hate it. It's just like with gangs, one gang wears red and one gang wears blue, and if you see somebody with red, then they go and they kill them. That's the exact same effing thing. And what they can try and claim that it's racist to wear that hat is total bullshit. You all know that most of the people that bought those hats didn't buy it because they wanted to show everybody that they were racist. It's just ridiculous. Just ridiculous. Okay, I'm getting distracted. I need to type. Okay, so there's that. So would you wear that? I mean, I do have a hat. Um, to me, it was a way to donate to the campaign. So I bought the hat. It doesn't look very good. I got the white one and it's too big. um, but I bought that. But right now, I'm not really about that. Like, uh, right now, I I feel like that we all have places in society based off of our personalities and things like that. Me, especially when I'm on Adderall, I think I'm a little bit cold and analytical, and so I think that right now my job is to just analyze it, to say this is what's happening, this is what we can read from it, and this is how you as a person can interpret this to make better decisions about your politics. But the decision is not on us yet, right? When it's 2020 and they're going through, then I sit down and I make my own calculations and I say, this is who I think best represents people's interests, and this is who I think you should vote for. And then I shill, and I will totally play the game. Like, I think the political game is a little bit fun, and I posted all of the shit posts and the memes and everything like that. I totally do that during the election. But right now, I'm not about that. Right now, I'm trying to be the analyst, you know? So now is not the time to be wearing some hat. But I do have one. Mm-mm-mm. Hmm. intraday correlation, hour by hour, quarter by quarter between. I don't know what that means. It means there's more correlation towards the end of the day. I don't know. That's weird, but that's a weird chart the Zero Hedge posts. Most of what happened in America makes me think it's a scary place to live. Nah. America's like as safe as it's ever been, in fact. I think there are some things to be concerned about, but I don't think that it's anything that you should be sitting down and worrying about in your daily life. If you are having those problems, then that goes back to the thing that I was saying earlier about that maybe you don't have a real community. And so maybe you need to find a way to get more involved in the community. Like maybe, and I'm gonna say like one more controversial thing before we go, and then I'm gonna go. If you're not going to a church, I would recommend going to a church. And frankly, I would just go and like get involved, even if I thought that it was total bullshit. Because the effect that the community has on you has such a benefit. It will improve your life just being a part of some kind of community, even if it's church, even if you don't actually even believe in God, but you just pretend for them. I know that what I just said is like a really crazy shitbag sort of thing, and I totally believe in my religion. Don't get me wrong, but I'm saying that the benefits to the community are so strong. But there's other places that you can go and do it too. Like if you do a really niche sport, like I do weightlifting or CrossFit, those tend to generate really strong communities around them. And people, they say it's like a religion. Well, it is. Like those are the sorts of things that you want to go and look for. Certain types of charities, if you're able to get really, really involved and established with it, that can be a community. Community theater, these are really good at this sort of a thing too. But you've got to have that community. And if you have that community, I think that those kinds of anxieties will bother you a little bit less. We'll see. Who's responsible for that perception? Who makes people think that it's a first world country is a country in which bad things should never happen? Arm yourself, concealed carry, self-defense, shoot back. Yeah, go join the local shooting club. But I think that it is important as a trader, if you want to trade your best, it is better for you to be involved in a community. For me, it's my gym. I go and I do the weightlifting. There's, a good dozen or so people that I see every day. I know them by name. I know them really well. We work out every day. We're really close. That's kind of my daily life community. And then I have you guys when I'm trading, and I think that helps a lot. And then I also live in a place that we have a strong church congregation. So I know all of my neighbors really well too. And that can be an option for you. So sometimes you just got to move to a place where they have the kind of community that you're looking for. Okay, so that's interesting that they just finally ticked down to 31 there. But the treasuries are trading in a very much of a range-bound direction at this time. I don't know why the equity markets bought up off of Donald Trump's tweet. And it kind of looks to me, though, like that today might be like a reversion day. And then maybe later on in the week, we might get more selling. But let's see how it works out. Maybe there's some news. Maybe there's something about the negotiations that's happening today. Lewis says, I was very stressed yesterday, took a long walk and cured it. And I feel like I need more activities for relieving stress, because I used to think that I could do that by playing games, but I've found that I'm just too competitive for that to work. And then I need things that aren't. So I'm trying to go into the music. That's why I reinstalled all of my music software this morning. And for the first, minute of the stream, I was talking and nothing was coming out. Okay. Anyways, it's 8:47. Um, here I'll show you the results again. So all of these ones in the MES were on sim and was just me testing the strategy. So just ignore those ones. And I took one trade in the ZN. I think there probably was a couple of other trades, but they were a little sketchy, and I was really concerned about some real volatility still coming in. It's quite surprising that we stage range bound, so I'm okay with only taking one trade. We made back what we missed yesterday. I wasn't revenge trading or anything, but I'm happy about that. And only one trade, that's good. So, I would like to live in Switzerland. That's my parameter for safe. And there's safe places in the United States. There is. It's really quite safe in the United States, historically speaking. So, but it kind of depends on what community you're in. Like if you live in a place like apartments or townhomes, I would suggest moving. Go and find, a religious area. But find a place that people are involved in their community. And I'm sure that there's indicators like statistics that you could go and look at to determine what areas are like that in your area. I knew that my area was like that because I grew up here. But go and find a place like that, and you can be much happier. Yeah. Anyways, I'm talking too much today. But I enjoy it, guys. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys tomorrow. In the meantime, stay profitable, friends.